Your mailbox, your Outlook file, will grow increasingly with each day as you receive more and more emails and as you create more and more appointments and create notes and create contacts. Your mailbox is going to get very big very quickly. And so being able to manage your Outlook is especially important. Some of us have the luxury of an IT department which will help us with that. It not entirely do everything for us, but will help us. But personal people and small businesses often have to manage their Outlook themselves. So we really need to understand how to manage Outlook effectively. Now, as your mailbox fills up, one of the things, or one of the culprits for stealing a lot of space, is the deleted items folder. Every time you delete something, it goes to the deleted items folder, which will get bigger and bigger and bigger if it's not emptied at some stage. So if I have a look at my deleted items folder in my folders pane, here I can see it here, and it's got quite a bit of stuff in it. It's got 62 items, 52 are unread. Now, to empty your deleted items folder, you right click and you can empty the folder. There are other methods like going to folder in the ribbon and emptying the folder this way, and it will permanently delete the items in this folder. The other thing to be aware of, which I've mentioned in earlier videos, is if you hit the delete key, that item will go to the deleted items folder, but if you hit shift delete, it will bypass the deleted items folder and permanently delete it. So you need to decide if you want to delete or shift to delete. But at some stage we need to empty this folder, and that will keep your mailbox down. Now, as far as checking the size of your mailbox, in actual fact, before we do that, when it comes to clearing the deleted items folder, I actually have mine set up that it does it automatically whenever I exit Outlook. So I need to show you that as well. And that just saves you the job of doing it on a regular basis. You can go to File and Options, and you can choose Advanced. And what you've got here is Outlook Start and Exit. Now, when it exits, I've set mine up to empty my deleted items whenever I exit Outlook, and that just saves me having to stay on top of it. So think about whether that's for you or not as well. But as far as checking the size of your mailbox, really under File, we can go into Account Settings. We can go into Tools, and we can go into Mailbox Cleanup. And when you go into Mailbox Cleanup, you can actually view the size of your mailbox. And when I look at mine, it gives me a total size of 994 megs. And then if I was to look here, I can see that a lot of that space is going to the calendar. And in fact, if I was to scroll down, I get a rundown on who's taking up the most space, followed closely by my Software Solutions contact folder. My deleted items is 5 megs, so it's contributing 5 megs. It's my inbox, that's where most of my stuff is, 778 megs, and 37 megs is American Muscle Car Club. So you've got various options listed here telling you how much space each folder is taking up and how much the entire size of your mailbox is. So that might help you direct your attention and your energies to where you should tidy up the most. And I'll go close. So think about emptying your deleted items folder and look at your mailbox, see where most of the space is going to, and then tidy up as much as you can on a regular basis. Now, at the end of the day, and this is only if you're not an Exchange server environment, at the end of the day, all your Outlook stuff is going into a file, which is an Outlook PST file, an Outlook data file. If I go into Account Settings and Account Settings, there is actually a tab here called Data Files. And these data files belong to different accounts. Now, if I go into this one here, this is, and that's why it has a circle with a tick, this is my default Outlook file. And it's a file called outlook.pst, and it's located in the following location. So if Outlook crashes, yes, I can install Outlook again, but as far as getting all my emails back, my contacts back, my appointments, my notes, and etc., I have to get this Outlook PST file back. So this is the very, very most important file. Now, if I click this button to open file location, this is where the file resides, and this is where I can get access to it. And so that's what I would recommend you do, and I would recommend that you then copy it and you back it up to another location by pasting, such as a stick or an external hard drive or somewhere other than your machine, so that if something goes wrong, you've got a backup of that file somewhere, because it's a very important file. It also gives you the size of the file. So the Outlook PST file is really important. It's where all your stuff is, and it has to regularly be copied. A copy has to regularly be put somewhere, and that's how you back up all your Outlook data. Now, if you want to back up just a particular folder, you can also do that. You can export perhaps your notes or your contacts or to a certain location. So maybe I want to export some contacts to an external file. I can click on a contacts folder. I could actually even, no, you can't do this with a right click. I could go to File, and I could go to Open and Export and Import and Export. And when I go Import and Export, I have the option to export to a file, and I go next to that. Now I can export it to a PST file, which is very Microsoft Outlook, or I can export it to a comma-separated values file, which basically means any system will be able to open it. If I go next, I then choose which folder I want to export. So I'm going to export, say, the Hot Rod Clubs, because it'll be nice and quick. So I choose the folder I want to export and I go next. Then I decide where I want to put it and what I want to call it. So I will put it on my desktop and I'll call it just Hot Rod Clubs. And OK. And then I'll click Next. And I can map fields if I wish. Basically what you can do here is you can drag from this side across to this side. So it's going to basically put email address, first name, last name. I could ask it to put company. There's nothing really in company, but this is how you would do it. And I could ask it to also put maybe phone number, just to give you an idea, business phone. So you drag across what you want to export, and OK, and finish. And it exports it out to a file. Now if I want to bring that file in, I can go to File, I can go to Open and Export, Import, Export, and then I can import from another program. And next to that, and it's a comma-separated values file, next to that, and I would go off and browse and find that particular CSV file, and OK. I could either replace duplicates, allow duplicates, or do not import duplicates. So allow duplicates to be created and next, and then I would choose a folder that I wanted to put it into. So I would probably be creating a contacts folder prior. So do I have another contacts folder I could use? Let's use Garden Club, say, and next. And then I'll go finish, and it will bring in those contacts into that folder. So when I go to Garden Club, I will see now that I've got 66 Hot Rod Clubs in there. And it's a duplicate of what was in that Hot Rods Club folder, just a different view, that's all. So you can export to a PST file or a CSV file. You can also import PST or CSV files into Outlook. Now the other thing is important is archiving. As your Outlook PST file gets bigger and bigger with the simple course of time, and you accumulating more emails and more contacts and more notes and more appointments and tasks and so on, you will need to archive to a separate PST file. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off the Outlook PST file. Now what happens is typically stuff in your calendar that's older than 6 months gets archived. Tasks that are older than 6 months get archived. Sent items older than 2 months get archived. And anything that you deleted over 2 months typically get archived. And where this is coming from is it's actually coming from File and from Options and Advanced. And it's the auto archive settings. It reduces the mailbox size by deleting or moving old items out of the Outlook PST and putting them into the archive PST. So we go into this one. Mine is set up to run every 14 days, and it doesn't even prompt me. It just does it every 2 weeks. Stuff in my calendar that's older than 6 months ago, move it to the archive.pst. And there's even an argument, would you even bother? Would you just delete it? You can delete or archive. It clears out items and it moves it to this file called archive.pst, which if I browse is this file here. So that takes a little bit of heat off this file and puts it into this file, and cancel. So you need to decide, do you want yours to happen every 14 days or less? Do you want to be prompted, and does it move or does it permanently delete old items? Once that's set up, cancel and cancel, you can then customize each folder. So for example, I don't like my notes to archive because I don't want to lose those. I don't want it to move them and get rid of them. So I right click and I go into the properties for my notes folder and into auto archive, and I say do not archive items in this folder. As notes in my notes folder get older than say 6 months or 2 months, I don't want them moved to the archive.pst. I always need to have them handy. So anything you don't want to archive, just tell it to. And if you want to archive it according to different settings, then you can choose archive using these settings, and you can set the months. And you can move the old items to the file, or you can permanently delete them. You can completely customize each folder in your folders pane so it does what you want it to do. So I'll cancel that. So if I look at my sent items, for example, right click, go into the properties and go to auto archive. My sent items have been told to clean out any items older than 4 months. It will move them to the archive.pst, anything I sent over 4 months ago, and that just saves me a lot of tidying. If I right click my calendar and go into properties and auto archive, anything that's in my calendar older than 6 months, it moves those old items to the archive.pst. By it doing these sorts of things, it's taking the pressure off the outlook.pst file, which is with every day and every hour getting bigger and bigger. And if it's not if the pressure is not released by moving stuff to the archive.pst, that Outlook.pst file may get to such a size that it actually corrupts, and then you're in real trouble. So I really would archive as much as you possibly can. And what I tend to do also is at the end of the year, I tend to create a copy of the archive file and put that aside as well. So you've got backups all the time in case something goes wrong.